Welcome to part 2 of Sloper Month. So today I am planning on taking my card sloper, tracing it out, swinging out the shoulder dart, the armhole dart into the bust dart, and making this up as an actual calico sloper to see how I feel about the fit and the look of this, because this armhole to me looks really shallow, but as I say, I've got lots of fullness up here and in here, and if I swing that down to here, I do think that's going to raise this up and change the shape of the armhole. So I'm going to get this traced off, cut out of calico, sewn up and tried out, because if that works, I'm then going to turn that 2 dart bodice, because there'll be the dart there and the dart at the waist, and I'll take off this bottom part as well. I'll turn that into another card sloper, then I'm going to draft my all-in-one sleeve sloper from that, and then I can move on to making up the sleeve sloper itself, because watching the Craftsy class for the sleeves, it looks like you're meant to sort of draft a sleeve for every single bodice that you do, because you're meant to trace out this part of the arm side from your bodice onto the sleeve. Now, it doesn't look that difficult to draft a sleeve from scratch, but I also don't want to be doing it every single time if I can have a starting point to work from. And as I've mentioned in the last video, I definitely know that a 2 dart bodice block is going to be something that I use frequently to make and design from. So I'm thinking that if I get this tried out, fitted, and then use that to make my sleeve sloper, that would be a logical method and way to go. You'll have to let me know what you think in the comments down below, but that is the plan for today, to attempt these. And if this works, I am going to try and cut out the polyester spandexy white with red and grey floral print fabric and try and make a pencil skirted dress from that with a grown-on sleeve. I was going to use the sleeve sloper for that one, but I think I would prefer it as a grown-on sleeve dress. So that is the plan for today. Wish me luck.
More than a minute later.
Okay, I have been playing around with the darts on this thing all day, and these are the original darts from the moulage and then the sloper that go to the high figure point and the low figure point, and these on this side are darts that have been backed off 1.5 inches. Now this one I think is brilliant, but I do think I need to back this one off maybe another 1/4 inch, so I'm going to give that a try tomorrow. Yeah, pleased with how this has gone today. It has been a lot of trial and error. I decided to put a zip into the back of this so that I didn't have to keep going up to find mum or dad to pin me in and out of it. That has been very helpful. The other way of doing it is of course sewing up the centre back seam, putting a centre front seam in with seam allowance, and you either pin that or you zip that so that you're doing it by yourself. And I'm not sure if I said this earlier, but I have gone for a very tight fit with my sloper, but just because of the types of garments that I prefer. The armhole is nicely loose, the neckline is nicely loose, it is fitted in here, but there is, you know, there's room in here. I've got a vest on underneath this, and it's fitting snugly but comfortably. Yeah, it depends on your preference for the types of garments that you have as to how much ease you add to your moulage to turn it into a sloper. Susie Ferrer says either 1/4, 3/8 or 3/4. I think for me that would have been too much. I would have ended up with 3 inches of ease all the way around, and this is definitely a far more me looking starting point than the 3 inches of ease all the way around would be. Although I can always add it if I want to draft a looser garment, so there's always that. And again, if you want to draft a tighter garment than usual, you can always make yourself multiple slopers. Very pleased with this. It's taken all day. Still not 100% happy with this dart, so I'm going to have another play around with that, but it's progressing nicely. So yeah, very happy. On to the next challenge. Welcome to day two, I think, yes, because I took yesterday off and made other things, some of which were successful, some of which not so much. I have spoken to a couple of people, and as the very lovely Lynn from Aussie Blackbeard pointed out, calico is going to wrinkle way more than other fabrics, especially this fabric that I want to make the dress from. So I am going to take the By Hand London Anna bodice because I like the grown on sleeve top part of that dress, and I'm going to try and smoosh that onto the sloper that I've made, and I'm going to try and cut out a pencil skirted dress from this fabric, sew it up and see if I can make something wearable that I like from my sloper today. I am equal parts excited and nervous about this. I think it's going to work. I think this fabric is going to need to be fully lined because it is white, so it is a little bit sheer, and we all know how I feel about facings as well. I hate facings. So that's the plan for today, to see if I can get a pattern that I like to make a pencil skirted dress, to then try and do the estate agent in Tomorrowland a Bianca inspired patchwork dress, because I have the fabrics for those and they should be arriving soon. I got a dispatch notice. So first things first, I need to try and smoosh those two pattern pieces together and see what I can come up with, and cut it out and sew it up. This could be interesting. Wish me luck.
A few inches later.
Okay, I was really worried that the pattern on this one looked ridiculous and so it wasn't going to come out how I wanted it to, but I'm pretty happy with that actually. Obviously just pinned in. This is a grown on sleeve, so there is going to be kind of fullness here, so before anyone says, oh look, there's drag lines, it's more kind of like fullness lines. And again, everything's exaggerated in calico because this calico has no drape, and oh my gosh, it's itchy. Also, I've got a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance around the neckline that I haven't sewn and clipped. I think I'm actually going to add, because I like the length of the sleeves as is, so I think I'm going to add seam allowance to these sleeves to make it so that they finish at this level. I have tweaked this dart, and I know lots of people will say that I can swivel this dart out into the armhole. I tried that. It looked ridiculous. Trust me. So I've kept the dart in. This I like. The one where I swiveled the dart into the armhole, it just, honestly, it looked, I had so much fabric up here, it looked really silly. I have backed the darts off, and again, obviously this is calico, as I say, not very, and also as Lynn says, not very forgiving, but I'm pretty happy with this actually. I took another 3/4 of an inch out of the sleeves. I sewed them and they were really kind of like up again, so I've taken 3/4 of an inch out of both the front and the back sleeve. I think I need to add 1/4 in to the front because they are tilting, these seams are tilting back slightly, so I'll take an inch out of the back and then a 1/2 inch out of the front, and that should give me nicely even shoulder seams that are sitting straight on my shoulders rather than tilting back like these ones. I'm going to probably do a v-neck for this one because I like that look, and I had cut that or drawn that into the pattern, but I wanted to try it with the high neckline first just to sort of see how that went. I think what I will do is make some alterations to the pattern paper now, then pin this down and cut the v-neck out just to see what it looks like. Wish me luck.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, it's not finished. I've still got to sew the lining to the zip and at the waist. I need to tweak the seams over the hips just a little bit because they are a little bit kind of too curved there, but hello. And I even pattern matched the back. I thought I had got the stripe running all the way around, but I seem to have alternated it rather than having it go all the way around. But yeah, the bodice, I went for a really low V. I didn't mean it for it to be quite this low, but the V that I cut in previously, I was like, oh no, that's too high. I'm really pleased. So yeah, I'm just gonna sort these bits out here, just take these like little bits in here and then make that alteration on my pattern. The reason this has happened is that I have drafted this skirt from the bodice sloper, not the skirt sloper. Then it needs to be hemmed, and as I say, I need to sew the lining to the zipper and then hand stitch the lining in at the waist. This fabric is incredibly see-through. I will wear this dress with a slip if I actually am ever brave enough to wear this dress out of the house, but there's no like super pointy dart bubbles. I I am so over the moon. Right, let's get these hips sorted, then get the finishing work done, and then I can show you the results. I am genuinely over the moon with this. I know I said that during the try on clip when it wasn't quite finished, but now that I have finished it and tweaked it, I'm amazed that I've made this from my measurements. I mean, I know it's not a groundbreaking dress, I know it's a grown on sleeve v-neck pencil skirted dress, but it's one that fits me really, really well. It's not quite perfect, and I do have enough of this fabric left to make another one, which I am planning on doing and perfecting the fit and also the finish on the inside. I have overlocked the inside of this, which is the first time ever overlocking the inside of a woven garment, and I did that because this is a stretch fabric, and also I could have French seamed the side seams, but I'm really glad that I didn't because I did need to tweak them, so it was nice having the freedom to be able to take them in and let them out as needed over the hips and the kind of like side area, because it would, the draft from the sloper isn't quite perfect. But having made this, I can make changes to my paper pattern to make the next dress much better from the get-go, rather than having to do all these tweaks to it. Like I say, I'm over the moon. I really like this length of grown on sleeve. I think it's a very kind of figure enhancing shape for me, because it kind of widens my shoulders a little bit, which helps balance out my hips and also whittle my waist, which is something that, as you guys know, I personally really always try to achieve when I get dressed, is to make my waist look as small as possible, which is why I tend to go for big full skirts over my hips, because it adds volume in that area. I don't know that I would ever be brave enough to wear this one out of the house. I used to wear this sort of stuff all the time, but then I was a different shape when I used to wear this sort of stuff. So seeing myself in it now is very alien, because as you know, fit and flare is my thing, but I really like how it looks, and I'm really glad that I have tried it, to the point that I have two fabrics back here that I'm going to try and do similar styles of dresses with. I think for me personally, I'm always going to want this style of dress to have a little bit of stretch in it, so I've got cotton satines up there. I've got another cotton sateen, a printed one that my best friend bought me years ago for my birthday, 2 meters of, and I never quite worked out what to do with it because I only had 2 meters, so I couldn't do my very full skirt, but I'm thinking it might look good as one of these sorts of dresses. With that little extra bit of spandex in there, then they, for me, probably will be more comfortable. But again, whether I'll wear them outside of the house or not is another thing. We shall see. I feel very much more dressed up in this than I do in my floaty dresses. My floaty dresses are kind of like, in my head, because I wear them every day, they are everyday dresses, as well as going out dresses if accessorized right. But this one just definitely feels more smart, and it just fancier somehow. That is something that I'm gonna have to get my head around if I do decide to wear this kind of thing. It'll definitely have to be in the right mood to the right kind of event. At one point during this process, I think you might have picked up on it in the earlier parts of this video, I did get a bit worried about kind of like the darts and the bust area and things not working out exactly as I thought they were going to, and it not being as easy to change things as I thought it was going to be, and I just got a little bit disheartened, and I was just like, oh, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, maybe I ought to try something else. But I'm really glad that I persevered with this, because I do think that once I've learnt a little bit more about manipulation of darts and pattern changes and things like that, I am going to have something that I can use as a starting block to create things that fit me perfectly, which has been my goal for sewing for as long as I can remember. The reason I started sewing was because I couldn't find things on the high street that fit me perfectly because of my body shape and proportions, and I'm not unique in that. Everybody that shops on the high street, there is some kind of compromise that has to be made when you buy clothes from the high street. Oh, it fits really perfectly here, but it's a bit baggy there, so I'll have to get that tailored, or I'll alter it myself. Or this is a lovely shape, but the fabric isn't right for me. Or this is a wonderful fabric and I love the shape, but the print's really boring. Or it is a print and I want to, you know, the there is always a compromise to be made on the high street, and when you sew your own garments you get to pick every single aspect of the thing that you are making, which I absolutely love. You also get to make it fit you as well as you can, and having this sloper and the knowledge that I'm gaining from doing this process and watching other people is giving me the confidence to be like, not only can I make something that fits me really well and is my style, but it's going to be something that's unique to me as well. I mean, in as much as there is probably no unique fashion out there whatsoever, but the combinations that I put together will make it unique for me. So I still have the sleeve sloper to do, I still have the trouser sloper to do, and I fully intend to do both of those because I really want to have a set of 4 well-fitting blocks that I can draw from, and just it's my imagination that it's going to be the only thing that holds me back, and I am absolutely loving the process and I would highly recommend. The Craftsy class is great. I love the fact that you can pause, rewind, go over. There's class materials, you can there's a discussion board as well, so you can ask questions and you can have a look and see if anyone else has been having the issues that you've been having. I have thoroughly enjoyed the whole process. As I've mentioned quite a few times now, I did buy these classes 7 years ago and I bought them as individual classes when Craftsy had that business model. I think now it's a subscription yearly model, so you do need to work out and take into account if that's going to work for you. It's very different now to how it used to be when I bought these classes, and that is the reason that I have gone down this route, was because I had bought these classes and spent money on them and I wanted to give them a try. I'm really excited to make more dresses that are outside of my comfort zone, but that should fit me from the get-go because they're drafted from my slopers. So I'm more likely to try different styles, not just the fit and flare, although there's still going to be a lot of fit and flare because it is absolutely my favourite. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to check out part 1 here.